27 years.
Is it really been 27 years?
I
It's
don't
not.
think it's actually that. I remember we saw each other at a party probably like 2 years after I graduated, probably in like 95 somewhere. I was like, dude, gave each other a hug and it was like, all right.
Dude. Oh wait, after you graduated, after you went
No,
to college.
I went to college and then I dropped out after a year. But then I
Nice.
finished, dropped out after a year, ended up finishing. So 93 graduation, went to BYU. After a year, I was like, dude, this is crazy, insane religious town. And so I dropped out. I actually went to PCC, came home, went to
Pasadena? Pasadena, yeah.
Pasadena City College. That was cool. And
Yeah.
so, and then I was living in California. I was working full time, going to City College, and then by absolute chance, I went out to see my cousins back to Provo, Utah. I was not going to school there. Fell in love with a BYU co-ed who is brand new off the turnip truck. She was a freshman, and then that's all she wrote. I mean, here we are all these years later. And that's when I rejoined the Mormon Church, because I had dropped out of BYU. I was like, yeah, I want to party. I want to date. I want to. And so I was doing all that. And really, I would have walked away entirely from the Mormon Church when I was 20 years old, but it didn't turn out that way.
Is that because you met? Was that your wife then you met?
Yeah, fell in love with my wife. We got married. She was, effectively, hey, I want to do this as a Mormon. I want to raise Mormon kids. I mean, it all served for something. So here we are.
That's cool. So let's go in reverse for a second. What do you do now?
2 years ago, like right before COVID, I sold my stake in the assisted living company that I had been building. I own a whole bunch of companies. I've been an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Me, my dad, and my brother founded together an assisted living company, and we built it to like 11 locations. And I just, for me, my whole awakening started when my wife and I left the Mormon Church, and sort of everything decided, all belief systems dissolved. And so basically ended up being rebuilding everything. So a couple years after I left the Mormon Church, then I sold my stake in the family business, and then it continues to deconstruct, and we're about rebuilding. So I left and sort of, I'm retired. I mean, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I was curious because I wasn't sure if you had established a formal sort of, I don't know, venture with the videos that you make.
Yeah. Well, that's part. Yeah. That's part of a new phase. I mean, I'm building an audience on TikTok. Been only going for 4 months. It's going really well. And so wherever that will take me, maybe that'll take me to a place. It's really cool. Like, this is about spiritual awakenings and manifestation. And there's definitely people who, whatever I have to say, helps them, but they're helping me too. Like, they are reflections, where this whole world is a house of mirrors, really. I am you, you are me. Even this is a reflection right now.
Yeah.
So, and I'm a reflection for you.
Yeah, that's why you're so handsome, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
What's funny though is, like, getting old is interesting, because it's like you start to realize I am more like a cool spiritual daddy to all these guys on TikTok, and I'm not like one of their peers. And that's been an interesting thing to come to terms with. Like, I'm actually getting gray, and maybe I am growing wise. I'm closer to being a grandpa than like a swinging single, you know?
Well, soon the beard will come in too for
Yeah,
your guru-ness.
yeah, yeah.
No, I know you're not trying to be a guru, but no, I think it's probably would predict it would grow very quickly. I certainly love watching all of them. The only frustration I have with them is that when you post them on Facebook, I only get like a snippet, and
Yeah.
then a lot of times it cuts off too, like towards the end, and I'm like, ah, what,
No,
what was he
I'm
gonna
messing.
tell me?
I'm messing with you. Yeah, Facebook only allows 1 minute, and then TikTok. Actually, TikTok's really going after YouTube. So right now, the max is 3 minutes,
Hmm.
and they just announced that they're going to move to 5 minutes as their max.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, Instagram is really responding to TikTok. They created Reels, but they only allow it to be 1 minute. Same goes for Facebook. I love that you're still into metal. I can't say I know much more about, honestly, other than what you taught me about metal.
It's funny. It's maybe even cliche at this point, but people say that whatever you loved when you're in junior high, high school is
Yeah.
kind of what you stick to, and that's I think probably what happened. But I still get a lot out of it. I love it.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
um, I'm wearing
That's
a
you.
Mastodon track
Passed it on. Sure. Those
track.
guys are German, right?
No, they're from Georgia.
Yeah. See, it shows you what I know.
um, yeah, they're my favorite band. A lot of my life has actually revolved around them in terms of my passions and my wardrobe.
Yeah, that's cool. Well,
Yeah, yeah.
what's cool is like, all right, so tell me how Megadeth uh, converted to Mastodon. And actually, it seems like very natural that it would. But,
Oh yeah. Well,
Metallica to Megadeth to Mastodon. I'm sure there's a whole world of metal bands that you just fucking love, but it's just
well, actually, there is only probably a handful, and you named half of them, I think, right there.
nice.
Well, that's funny where we are talking about this now, but I'll share maybe the quick evolution. But what's interesting? You brought up Megadeth. My wife and I got married by Megadeth. We
Oh my gosh. What?
we went to
So cool.
I'll try to keep this brief, but um, we went to a thing called Megadeth Boot Camp. It was like a weekend with the band for fans. It's like about 50 of us, something like that. But before I signed up for it, I noticed there was a church service the last day because all these guys were, Satan worshipers turned Christian. um,
That's
and so there's
no
a church
way.
service. Yeah. Anyway, so and we were engaged at the time when I saw this notification that this event was happening. So I said, "Hey, wouldn't that be cool if they'd marry us at that church service?" And she's like, "Yeah, okay." But I emailed the promotion company and I just said, "Hey, I'm engaged. I want to go to this thing and just wanted to float it out there. Would Megadeth be interested in marrying us?" Because the other thing too, the bass player at the time, who has just left like in the last couple months actually, but he was a minister, like a no kidding minister.
Um,
So anyway, waited around 2 weeks, didn't have any expectations, but they wrote back and said, yeah, they would love to do that. They're like,
shit.
you just need to buy your ticket. So we got the
That's a
tickets. And,
gift.
oh
What a
man,
gift.
it was probably I mean, it was an expensive event, but the cheapest wedding probably of the century.
Oh,
All things
sure. That's
considered.
good.
So yeah, we just went to this event. It was really, really cool and really fun, and got married. And all my heroes were at my wedding. Not all of
Dude,
them, but Megadeth was it. It was pretty awesome.
that is crazy, dude. Wow.
Um, so and it's funny too, and maybe that also maybe helps explain the radical metal stuff because all those people that were there, all these fans, we all became very close. We have our own Facebook page and all that stuff,
Great.
and keep in touch. And so the very first two episodes were with two different folks from that group, and we'll probably continue with with other folks from that group. We'll see. I love doing that podcast thing. I call it a podcast. I don't know if it even rates as a
Sure it is.
podcast. Mhm.
Actually, from meeting you, from a non-metal person to a metal person, from a metal person in you to a non-metal person, how would you describe what metal has done for you? Like anything from like the deep visceral release to like you just understand the vibration and the culture. Like what? Like just how would you describe it so I can maybe step into your world?
Yeah, sure. Hopefully I can do it justice. I think in junior high, I think I liked it because I think most men anywhere, most boys at that age are angry. Uh,
Yeah.
maybe not everybody, but I was, and I think a lot of people were, just because you don't know anything and you're figuring things out, and you're talk about ego. You're not in the sense of being confident, but ego in the sense of like just being so absorbed in your own mind, in your own head, and whatever when people the effect other people have on you. There's just so much ripeness for anger.
Well, and
And
you're still a kid. Like you're coming out of this phase. Like every one of us has to go through this phase where we're little babies, like literally 6 and under. Think about a 3-year-old. The parent has to have complete and total totalitarian rule, or else that 3-year-old's going to wander off and kill themselves.
yeah,
Right. And so, and that's like the journey that a soul and a child has to walk into their own individualism. So here they are, teenage or in middle school, there's a lot of angst, but that angst is there to fuel an individuality, like an individuating experience. That's like power to be like, no, I am me, right? So you got the power of the music behind that too.
yeah. Oh man, I want to go so many different directions.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm
But
giving you a
like,
lot of meat, bro.
um, I think then the metal it helped process it. So I could hear this like really fast music in my head, and it was the release. It was the release valve for me.
Music is literally a vibration. If we're all vibration, we're all energy. You introduce music to our situation, it's definitely helping. It's like it's just vibrating stuff out. Like it's, you know,
Dude,
on different.
there was an article that someone sent me, or was someone posted on Facebook. I could find it and send it to you. That they just proved scientifically that sound can regenerate heart tissue.
Damn. See, that's so cool. I
Yeah,
don't see why not. It's energy. I don't see why
yeah.
not.
But
But
you're kind of talking about an evolution. The things that were coming to mind there were, did you ever read Stephen Covey?
yes,
7 Habits, Highly Effective People.
love it.
That whole, I love his explanation of how that evolution goes, where you're dependent, like you're saying, a 3-year-old entirely dependent on your parents. And then how the journey is try to get to independence, at least first, where you're not
Yep.
dependent emotionally on your parents or your friends, financially, whatnot. And then the levitating Buddha of what you're trying to get to is that interdependence,
Yeah.
where kind of like, well, he describes it as like superior solutions through collaboration kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of getting past yourself and understanding that. And this is where I don't even think I'm there yet, or I'm trying to get there. There's sometimes, but not all the time, where you kind of value those interactions so much, in your connection to other people, and understand how that makes everything better. Or maybe it's interdependence, not just with people, but with the
All
universe.
things.
Yeah.
The universe. Yeah. So, this existence is about relationships and not just with other humans, but relationships with all other signatures of life, which is everything. It's the air, it's a rock, it's what is our, basically, how can we manipulate energy? I
Mhm,
really get really woo woo on this, but
mhm.
I mean, this is definitely, I come from a place. So, after, my Christian belief system has crumbled,
Mm.
I've rebuilt with something that's way more on, the the Buddhist spiritual path, which is a lot more like we are all this. We're one. Like, we come from Source, which is the universe, which is God. We are one. We're just in a construct of separation where the universe has splayed itself into infinite parts, like a cross section of infinite parts, so that it can create parity and tension and create experience. All this, you're playing a role right now with me and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And that's generating, right? It's just generating experience. And that's why we
Mm-hmm.
say you can also call it a simulation because, well, that's what a simulation does. Even from a computer standpoint, you're creating scenarios from a computer, standpoint, so that all that data that comes from a simulation can then be plugged into an algorithm, which is an
Mm-hmm.
intelligence, and
Mm-hmm.
multiple algorithms create more intelligence. So I think in general, I know you're rolling with me on this.
Yeah,
That
I'm
we
totally with you right now.
are you?
Yeah, oh
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I was just thinking simulation, then you brought it up, so there's something going
Woo!
on.
So, but see, each of our experiences, if we are each other, we're all generating experience so that we can become more conscious of ourselves over life. And then that microcosm is actually, that experience is all being rolled up to the universe, the collective, so that the universe can become more conscious of itself as it generates.
Dude, that's almost like Alan Watts 101,
Yeah, there
or
you go.
not
That's right.
101, maybe 501, but
Yes.
and I'm not sure I totally understand it, but that was reminding me of one of his quotes. We're all just representatives of the universe trying to understand itself.
Yeah.
Which
That,
messes with my mind too, because I'm not exactly sure what that means. Why? I mean,
yeah.
if we talk about source, does the source need to understand itself?
It's,
That's where
it's,
I get wrapped around the axle.
well, there you go. Yeah. Does source need to understand itself in so much as we're learning to understand ourselves throughout the rest of our lives? Not just trying to understand, get close with people and understand those people, but really, we'll never fully know ourselves because we're infinite, because we are the universe, and that's the process, that's the journey, that's the flow. So, but to try to understand ourselves, right, to go within, that's one of our plights in life. Maybe it's the main one. So
Yeah, but and then there's some kind of relationship there with just being. Like if you kind of get a glimpse of it, where you're like, "Hey, I'm part of this thing. I'm one with it. We're all one with it." Like you're saying, do I have to get it? Do I
no,
have to understand it? And that's where I don't think you do. And then and
no,
then and and then the weird thing too, when you let go of it, needing to understand it, I
yeah,
think you get more of it.
you're so there. We're speaking the same language. Yeah, I like to call that all experiences valid.
Mhm,
Every single thing you do is absolutely valid because it generates experience, just because it is, right?
mhm,
So, for example, we live in all these like graduated levels of consciousness. So I can now, this church that I left the Mormon church when I was 42. I can look back and I see these people, and from my perspective, because I was there, they seem very unconscious and asleep. But that's,
mhm,
well, maybe just because of where I was and where I'm, but that's the level of consciousness that they're operating at.
mhm,
That's totally valid. They're having a fucking life. That's it.
mhm.
And that's to be understood.
Yeah, and then back to algorithms. Yeah, Aziz Ansari just had some stand up. He talks about, he was kind of addressing how everybody seems to be so angry all the time and angry at each other. With back to radical left, radical right, and that kind of thing. Donald Trump, MAGA, liberals, blah blah blah, and that he was saying, "Hey, look, we're all just stuck in our own algorithm." you know,
Yes. If
uh,
anything, part of this self-understanding is to start watching your own algorithm.
yeah.
You know, we are
Oh, I
stuck.
like that.
To me,
being
that's
aware of your own algorithm. Yeah.
yeah. I'd say if people generally have an awakening, and what that is from person to person is can be different, but is generally something painful that jolts them out of their general experience that they thought it was, which was like, get married, have kids, get a job, get a house, and really sort of like awaken to be like, this isn't what I thought it was. So once you awaken, then and there's a lot of pain because you're conscious of all these unconscious things that you've been doing, all these patterns. The whole journey is to journey to self and become aware of all of your bullshit, which is also become aware of your algorithms, everything. I'm bringing it back to algorithms,
Yeah.
Jesse.
Well,
Well,
it probably is some kind of. I don't have a better explanation. Not that I need one, but about this existence in terms of it not being a simulation. I really,
yeah,
I mean, it seems very sophisticated, but look at Grand Theft Auto. That's a pretty sophisticated game that we came up with as humans.
yeah, yeah.
You know.
Well, I got a big idea. You want to? No one can really track with me on this one, but I think I if you don't, you're laying. No, but I think.
I'll try.
Yeah, I think we are already talking about this. This idea. Okay, first of all, a simulation is really just metaphoric language that we have to like try to have a description for what this is. But simulation, a lot of people go to the Matrix like, oh, this is actually this is a giant server farm that's actually like creating this. And okay, still a metaphor. Like this is way more fucking advanced than any kind of computer we could actually create, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Having said that, I do think there's this idea that we are actually at the forefront of countless simulations in the past. Have you gone with this one? So think about it's like a Neil deGrasse Tyson idea, also Elon Musk. If basically we understand history is, so we have like encoded in us a godly type desire to create, right? And so even back in Shakespeare times, they started to create stories and plays of another life that you could witness, right? So we've always been wanting to create that. And now we are advanced. There's been movies and there's been countless novels, where we can actually create and actually walk around in another life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Movies are another good example. And then you sort of have what's happening with our phones and social media, right? We can zone out, kind of look around in other people's lives. A lot of it's bullshit. Oh, there's some truth in it too. To me, these are all baby steps and driven by this desire for humanity to create. And now we see the very first version of a metaverse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it really is this idea, and Elon Musk said it. Well, and video games too. If video games used to be like freaking Pong, and now you fast forward 40 years, and now that you know what I'm talking about, and now it's something that's more or less photorealistic, and now we're gonna start to put on like a haptic suit and like VR goggles and start to experience, and still pretty rudimentary. How much longer exponentially do we move to a place where there is actual AI? That's a very big part of it. We are actually able to live in this other universe that is indistinguishable from our lives that we have now. Who
It's
says we're not already fucking in that indistinguishable one from
it,
before? Do you know what I'm
well,
saying?
the from before piece, I'm getting a little slowed. I think I might be slow to getting it, but
I'm
I
just
guess.
well, no, keep asking about that because that's the part that people don't get. If we have this idea to create, and we've started to like do the seedlings of create other stories with Shakespeare and movies and blah blah blah, and then here we are, we're gonna have something
Oh,
realistic. Who's to say that right now isn't a result of that kind of energy
oh, yeah.
before?
or that we're living out, we're currently living out in some other simulation being
Yes, that
witnessed
came that
by, yeah.
that came as a result of that kind of behavior of wanting to get to this. And now here that we are in this, we're actually all, let's just assume we're sitting in the fucking seat. We're in the matrix with the haptic suit and it's all there. It's so realistic. We're
Got
so bought
well,
into it.
well, real quick. So the word that keeps coming up to me, and maybe I'm missing the point, but that we're the avatars
Yeah,
of that someone sitting in the seat, and
that's
is that us?
that is
Or
exactly what I'm saying.
yeah, it's
And,
man, it's totally possible.
well, and it's also very Alan Watts to this idea, like, well, if you were God, or if you were able to create a whole life when you fell asleep, well, the first, and you could, every day is a new lifetime. The first phase would be like you would create an incredible life where you've got all the love and all the money and all the women, everything. And then you get bored of that. And then you'd start to make it more challenging. And then you would get to a phase where you would go into that world and erase your memory that you actually did that.
Yes, Alan Watts again. High five, man.
Yeah. Woo! Yeah, we get each other. We get this.
Um, yeah, that also was crossing my mind where we're like, you know what? Yeah, it's weird because it seems to be related. The only way I can describe it, and you said it was like, is it boredom? Is that
Yeah.
why? So if that's what we're going with, and that's why we're here, why was it created? Was it out of boredom? Just because like
Well,
we figured it out, and we're like, you know what? I need to feel something. I want to go
I,
back when there was pain and
I
suffering.
generally think along those lines. If we are the universe, then and we are everything, it's just like anything. We want to put ourselves through the paces. We want to challenge ourselves. Like think about even what we do in sports. Like we go and we want to face a hard team, right? We want to run an obstacle course. We want to be down so that we can rise up and triumph.
Mhm,
We're creating these mock environments for ourselves inside this,
mhm.
and it is so amazing that the metaverse and the company is actually called Meta because the whole fucking thing is meta, you know? You
Yeah,
know?
totally. I'm trying to remember because also sort of interestingly, on my way home from somewhere yesterday, I was listening to NPR and they had what was it called? It's been a minute. I don't know if you ever heard that show on NPR, if you listen to
Mm-mm.
NPR, but they were talking about Facebook metaverse. And I'm trying to remember now where metaverse first came into the cultural psyche. It wasn't
Yeah.
Facebook, it was some book
Second
that,
Life. Remember
well,
Second Life?
was that what it's called? I don't know what that is. Maybe
Well,
that's it.
it's the kind of thing where, like, several times in the past, I'm talking the last 20 years, companies have tried to do it, and it was like just the timing was wrong. There wasn't the right resources. And I'm talking like the year 2002, there was a company called Second Life. And with whatever shitty technology we had,
Oh,
you could go into your computer and be an avatar and do walk around,
oh.
and people would I remember reading a Time magazine article about Second Life, and they were just like, this is the future. Well, that company didn't last. The adoption wasn't there.
Well, it's
So
funny. This radio show was talking about the ripeness for it, and even in Facebook, this
yeah,
isn't supposed to happen. I don't think for another 5 years. But everybody's trying to create the technology to take the grab of the industry.
yeah,
Um, Now, I think Microsoft. I might have heard this wrong. It sounded like because I thought Metaverse had a version out, but Microsoft I think has something out where you can go in, and there's already controversy, like someone groping someone else in this
so funny.
alternate reality.
Yeah,
Um, but I didn't think Metaverse was actually available, but that it was going to be ready in like 5 years or something. But they're talking about it now so that they can get
yeah,
industry to create whatever needs to be created to make it, you know,
yeah.
interesting. I don't know.
But are
Um,
we just headed towards another one day? another simulation where it will be indistinguishable from real life, just like this one. And we actually won't think that we'll forget about this reality. We'll be long gone dead.
Or we're there now, and then what's the
We're
other?
there now. It's meta.
Or then,
Okay,
but what's the next iteration? I don't know. Or maybe
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a lot more ideas too on this metaverse. Oh yeah, one thought is, you know how tech goes. Who's to say Meta is going to be the predominant leader? They're sure trying, but they might be relatively first to market, and some zippy young competitor comes in and is like, dude, we got this. Even though, classic, right? Meta or Facebook is really this old organization that is dying in a lot of ways, and they've just been acquiring and bolting on new companies, right? Even their metaverse is a bolt-on from Oculus Rift, and smart. But if you listen to like Elon Musk talk about the future of the metaverse, it's going to be more like there's a chip in the back of our neck, and it's just going to be in our eyes. These are all big ideas. So
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, that's another thing they're talking about is how metaverse also was brought up a little early, maybe because of Facebook's all their trouble.
Totally.
And
Well,
they're just trying
Facebook's
to.
in trouble, and
Yeah.
they have hundreds of billions. Like it's just they have to figure something out. Facebook is so in trouble. It's crazy, right?
And I gotta tell you, I'm so sick of Facebook.
Yeah.
In so many ways, like not even maybe the typical ways, but I have to scroll, feels like forever just to see a friend's post. It's all like ads, and it's just losing some of its luster, yet it's what I know. And so I continue to, if I want to post something, if I want to share something, and subconsciously or consciously want feedback of some kind, I go there. I guess YouTube a little bit.
Well,
do more there.
What's interesting about that is Facebook really is they just messed up along the way in a lot of different, like for example, I really did a lot of research I was gonna launch a coffee company, and I decided to not. And one of the big reasons was, and this is literally like mid last year, was I was going to primarily market using just Instagram ads and Google ads. And realizing just last year, in the middle of 2021, something massively shifted where companies are having a very, very hard time to make ad spend profitable. And that's basically Facebook saying we have too many companies that want to use this platform, and we can't figure out how to make like I was even working with an ad agency who had all of like the cutting edge stuff, and they didn't want to fully admit this, but they were kind of spiraling because, one of the biggest things that changed last year is that Apple decided to pull their Pixel, which used to allow Facebook to see a lot more data from people's iPhones. Does this ring a bell?
Oh yeah, they're really upset about it.
They're really upset about it. Like it really affected the world. And so basically, but that amounted to people pulling their ad dollars from Facebook and Instagram.
That's why they're upset about it.
Yeah. And so they're just not performing that well. And they just released their earnings report a couple weeks ago, and it looks really bad. Like immediately it's obvious to see that their business is shrinking.
It's kind of like you feel it too. I think that's, I sometimes feel that, it's kind of comes from the idea like, am I controlling the universe? Like,
yes,
really, maybe you're just in tune with it, and maybe there is some influence there, but I think it's more just being in tune with it or something. But I was just thinking, Facebook's really losing steam. I'm hearing it on the news and all these things happening, but I'm also losing steam wanting to use it. And it's kind of like, whoa, kind of like sinking up there.
What's interesting though is we still have that. I like that you're saying you're losing steam, and the question is, where will that time and energy go? Maybe you'll actually get outside more. Maybe, but maybe you'll start a new hobby. But what you still have is people, and their unconscious habit to check their phone for some sort of escape.
Dude,
And
this is it. Can
right?
I sum it up for you in a real crude
Yes.
way? What am I going to do on the shitter? That's all it is to me. Because I'm not
There,
going to take a shit without my phone. Because otherwise I'm bored.
that's the whole world. And you know, the shitter is like the easiest place to see it, but it's anytime you get a spare moment, you're not talking to someone. You
Yeah,
know, you want to check in. That's my life here, you know? And
yeah.
so
A lot of it's losing luster. Like my go-tos are, it's interesting. We're talking tech now, but my go-tos are like CNN just to see, you know,
mhm.
okay, what did I miss? Did something happen in the last hour since the last shit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Facebook. Um, I'll check my bank account or something. I don't know. I just
What do you
I
think
run
about this?
yeah, go
What do
ahead.
you think about this one? So classic news outlets are also changing in a massive way,
Yeah.
right? I just read that Joe Rogan has 11 times the viewership than CNN. Can you even believe that?
Yeah, no, I think Joe Rogan's actually might be losing a little luster too
He
now.
is. He's
Maybe
coming
just
up.
minimal, but and not just because of these recent controversies or whatever, but I think for him, I think it's just he's been very refreshing and I definitely dove in there for a while
Yeah,
and still watch him. I watch
yeah.
clips, I guess, but
Me too. I'm exactly where you are. I
yeah.
used to do, you know, a few years ago, I was all about Rogan. Now I'll catch his clips on YouTube. Awesome.
Mhm.
You know?
But the long form, I think, and just you get a little more authenticity coming out, right? And that's where they get in trouble too, because you I think
They say too much.
they say too well, yeah, and you need to, in my mind, like forgive the guy, like they're having a conversation. The reason we like it is because they're letting their guard down and being
Yeah.
authentic. And hey, maybe they said something that's messed up. Maybe they have a teachable moment or something, but come on, give people a
Yeah.
break.
Well, you're exactly right. It's like, hey, if you, well, you and me, are we going to get strung up by some casual conversation we're just having? But it's that's what Joe Rogan is inviting anyone who wants to talk, who has something to say, and he's getting strung up the way that news outlets would get strung up. But you know, the other thing is, it shows so much that the world has moved to someone like Joe Rogan, who literally looks like it's in his basement, and because they don't trust the curated information that and the hide the ball mentality of what the news outlets think that you should see or not. Like there's a lot of manipulation of information.
Oh man, yeah, it's really too bad. Well, another guy, I suspect you probably listened to too, Sam Harris.
Yeah, I've done a lot of Sam Harris. I used to be really into his podcast. And yeah, what's he up to lately?
Well, I same kind of maybe the same boat. I listened to him all the time, and then he started, he changed his model and wanted you to pay for it, which I wouldn't have had a problem with, but I never did it, and so
No.
I sort of just stopped listening to him. But last night, strangely, I was listening to him. Um, my habit lately has been fall asleep to a movie, and
Good.
then I'll wake up, turn the TV off, and then I'll put the podcast in, fall asleep to that. It's kind of, I don't know
Nice.
what that is, but I put Sam Harris on, and I was like kind of in and out, the rest of the night. But one of the things I came in on was he's baffled, I think, about the potency of the misinformation. Um, and he just made a connection with, pandemic, people are at home, they have more time to tune in. But that also means more time to tune in to, a lot of the bullshit that's out there. And that's why, or that might be one of the reasons why.
I like that
Mm,
question actually.
mhm,
I thought that, you know, this, you know, what was the potency of misinformation? It's like there's a thirst for trusted information
mhm.
because there's fear, there's so much fear, and they don't necessarily trust CNN, right? Like classically, would you go to Joe Rogan for like the thoughtful journalism? No, but there's a trust. There's again, it goes back to there's the the thirst for trusted information. They go to Joe Rogan, and then Joe Rogan's not purporting himself to have that. You know what I'm saying?
But at least he's authentic. You know,
Yeah, which
at
is
least yeah.
what we want to trust. So it's
That,
like there really is a split there. It's like we want to have that authentic, like we're talking to Uncle Joe and we just went and blah blah blah, and we're really holding them up to a standard that's more like a classic news organization.
yeah, it's weird. Well, it's because I
Yeah,
guess it's because of the enormity of his platform.
yeah,
Um,
that's it. Yeah,
yeah, and maybe there's maybe more responsibility there, but it's sort of like, I started this, and the reason I think this is to your point, I started this, and the reason it got so big is because it was so authentic.
yeah,
I didn't build it on being factual. I built it on, hey, let's talk through things,
yeah.
So I'm
Well,
sure
see,
you can.
so in this conversation, doesn't it say that the Joe Rogan misinformation thing is actually more reflective from like the classic news organizations not giving trusted information, or more so the people listening not trusting what they get? So that, now we are talking in circles, but it's like, you're right. Joe Rogan was never built for headlines.
This is interesting, and not to bring it back to this radical middle thing, but I can't help but think of it that
It
way. It's just
Take it
like,
there. Take it there.
well, it's just that's part of the thirst I feel, um, in wanting to hear a voice that I can trust, whether they're right or wrong. I want to feel that whatever it is they're saying, that they mean it.
Yeah.
And that it's not backed by an agenda. It's backed by just how they think, how really just a megaphone for their algorithm. And I can make my own judgments, but I'm not going to listen at all if I don't think it's authentic.
Well,
Um,
so is just what you described, isn't that just the way it should be?
yeah,
And instead it's this whole thing, that's the thing. It's like if we're expecting Joe Rogan to be like the ultimate source of trust and information, and it's like, oh, are you fucking trusting yourself? Like what you just said. Let a person speak, they add their own piece to the collective idea, and then you decide what you are.
well, yeah,
You decide.
yeah, but maybe for someone to have that thirst, they have to come to some kind of awareness. So maybe maybe the majority of people out there aren't thirsty for it. And maybe
Yeah.
that's why they're going. It's the sheeple thing, and they're just going to, their constricted,
Yeah.
narrow algorithm. Maybe because that's where they feel comfortable. I don't know, but like it's also just this yelling at each other, or just trying to take people down.
I know. Yeah.
And I've been guilty of it. I've been guilty of it too. I felt some of this rage, and this is sort of been part of my very informative experience where I'm learning from it. Like, okay, why? Like, really examining why am I so angry? Like
Mhm.
like the election, man. Like, I was so angry. It was coming from somewhere. I was so angry that people thought that there was like enough evidence to overturn the election, and
Yeah.
that it was all fake. It really, really triggered something in me. And um, I was posting all these diatribes
Ah,
on Facebook, and then I was like, okay, is this is this working? No, it's not. I mean, it's helping me because I'm like kind of exercising it.
it's
Uh,
your process. That's what was really happening. It was your process.
yeah. Um, but it really led to an examination of where my rage comes from, or what's effective anyway at the end of the day. And the thing that I think the conclusion, and I'm maybe going a little off on a tangent, but the conclusion I came to that maybe is relatable to this is that really all we have is our testimony, which is our experience, not testimony like in terms of religion or whatnot.
Yeah.
That too, maybe, but all we have is our experience that we can share. We can share the place that we come from, and then
Yeah.
it's really hard to argue with that. It's really hard for someone to take someone else down just by sharing their experience. And then, but in my mind, and maybe this guy again goes back to radical middle, like that's where the discourse should be. It's like, hey, I'm going to share my experience, and
Mhm.
then, and you can't take me down because, hey,
You
you weren't there.
You can never ever walk a mile in someone else's shoes, and to respect that, show up with your experience, and to have a safe structure where you can actually share that and it can be respected. And someone who has a seemingly contra experience and an opinion, they can have theirs too.
So the opposite of that is coming in guns blazing and then
Yeah,
attacking someone else's experience. And that's what's happening most of the time that I see. And that's again why I kind of wanted this um to start something, to start talking about radical middle. But really all I'm saying is where's somewhere where there can be dignified discourse, where I'm sharing my experience and then you share yours, and we can learn from each other's experience.
yeah,
And then, but come with that open mind too, not come with an agenda. Just come, hey, this is who I am. You
yeah.
tell me who you are. That is interesting about you. That just impacted me. That's going
Mhm.
to change a piece of my algorithm now because I never heard it like that before. That kind of thing.
I love that. Yeah. We're also tribal, right? It's also about survival, and we subconsciously seek alignment and similarities with other people. And the other side of that is when people are seemingly opposite of you, you try to take them down or convince them to be like you. This is all about safety and
Mhm.
really, just being validated, and the ultimate fear is that we'll be abandoned and alone. Really? Yeah.
But I think
So,
if you're at a place where you can do that though, and you're comfortable sharing your experience without an agenda,
yeah.
um, I think you've already passed that fear of the abandonment. I think. Um,
Yes. Well, that's definitely, you're transcending that for sure. Yeah. You're living
yeah.
that and you're owning that. And yeah, if you can comfortably stand sovereign and your own convictions, and then someone can come and have their own convictions that are different from yours, or even someone comes and tells you that you're wrong. If you can stand sovereign and not engage in that, be like, I know me. Damn,
And
that's solid. That's solid.
it comes out anyway. I think it comes out
Yeah.
in your TikToks,
Oh,
you
hell yeah.
know. You
My
know?
Tik my TikToks are very much about healing,
Mhm.
in which my own healing. It just happens to be in a public forum, and I get a lot of feedback that's mirrors and validation of that healing, and it also helps me move through. Like, it's for sure.
Do you,
Uh,
do go ahead.
no, go ahead. I had a
I was just
question.
gonna say, do you ever get any like assholes that are like, who are
Yeah,
you? Try to
yeah,
attack you, and
yeah.
then how do you feel about it?
It's cool. Like, I do get some people. I'd say I have like 15% haters. 15% haters.
That's a lot, actually.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of comments. People are really engaged, especially on TikTok. People just comment. Most people. So you look at everyone that follows me. You look at their profile. I'm talking like 99% don't post videos, but they're all there watching, right?
Yeah.
And then a lot of those people comment. So I don't get bothered by it. Sometimes stuff will sit with me, but I take it all as reflections. And then I can sit it like, oh, okay, like someone told me in the spiritual community, when you can create something that is its own spiritual ego. Like, I'm so spiritual and I haven't. And so someone accused me of having that. And it's just like, actually, yeah, I do have that, but you can always say someone else who's saying their thoughts and ideas about spirituality has that. It's very paradoxical.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but someone said, "Hey, man, you have a serious spiritual ego," and it's like, all right, I know that's so funny, and it's like, I said, I do not fight with anyone. I say something like, thank you for adding your voice here,
Mhm.
and that stuck with me for a little bit. I had a couple of days to think about that. It's like, am I full of shit? Yeah, I'm full of shit. And I also have some truth. Like, I'm all of the things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're the full spectrum of everything. We
Mhm.
have bullshit, we have truth, we have love, we have hate for
Mhm.
everyone, all because we are all the things. So,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's It's interesting. You know, when I'm at my best, I'm not sure where this is going or if it's a question or not, but
No, no.
when I'm at my best, you know, I feel like I'm super like in tune with everything, and I kind of feel like I am above the guy who's hooked into the matrix. And everything goes, I feel like everything's going really well. And I actually, and I really enjoy it. I'm like, wow, everything's kind of falling into place right now. And I'm like, is it because like, okay, well, I haven't been drinking a lot. I've been meditating twice a day, and like, maybe it's
Awesome.
related to all that stuff. And I guess good on me for that. It's just again, I'm not sure where I was going with it, but it was something
Well,
that came to mind that sometimes I'm there and I feel like it's because I'm aware of where I am. And maybe it's because I'm aware of
awareness.
the evolved simulation that we're in or something.
Yeah.
And then other times
Well,
I'm not. And other times I'm totally not aware. And I'm so
yeah.
in my own head and very, very narrow frame of
Yeah.
mind. And
It's
then
interesting.
that's where it's quite painful, I think. And things
Yeah.
aren't going well.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of like my alarm system,
Yeah.
you know, to get back to it.
Yeah, and that's good. You we're all set up to feel pain. It's part of the experience. And so, like you said, your alarm system is just the universe doling out a little bit of pain for you to get yourself going
Yeah.
again. It's good.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I was just thinking though, but if I was in it all the time, okay, this is kind of where it's coming from or why it came as a seed in my mind earlier in our conversation is if we're just the product of being in a place where we want to forget again. Um, if I'm wondering if that happens to me. I'm thinking out loud here, trying to process it. But when I'm in those states where everything's going well, and I do feel like I have this kind of elevated awareness, and I love it. I actually soak it all up. But I'm wondering if I was there too long, you know,
yeah,
I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I'm not living. I'm not
yeah.
living. I'm kind of just,
I agree with that.
yeah.
That's why it's very hard to stay there. And the reality in my one experience is that I can never really stay there.
Mhm.
If I'm floating high and I'm feeling like I have had so much awareness during the day and enlightenment, I'm headed into something guaranteed that will push me even more. Like for me, I experience it all. I have horrible shit days, and it's all happening within me. So it is funny though, we yearn to get to that place where it's just like pure zen and we're there forever. But are we growing in it to that space? Are we growing in that space is your question.
And is that what, and I'm wondering if that's what nirvana should be, it's very closely related to why a lot of people do transcendental meditation, which is what I do, is like they want to, I'm not sure that's why I did it, but um to finally get there. But like I don't know. I don't do once you get there, is that the ideal place to be? And are you missing out? You're missing out on all that fun pain.
Yeah. Well, the way I see it is I imagine ourselves outside of this existence
Hmm.
as that's our natural state.
Hmm.
And it I think it longs for something that's more challenging like this. Like
Yeah.
I think that we put ourselves into this existence so that we can feel the full range of
Hmm.
human emotion, and that pain is actually to our higher selves, pain is this like delicious entertainment,
Hmm.
honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that might be a good full circle there, buddy.
Yeah. After losing contact with you, because I graduated high school a year ahead of you, now hearing that you entered the Marine Corps in your early 30s, it seems obvious to me that it was calling you the whole time, because that definitely was an energy that you had even as a teenager in high school, you know?
Yeah, it definitely stuck with me. And I tried different things in life and I wasn't very successful. and was getting just very frustrated, and that the desire to do that never left me. I think at the time too, I was craving. I was so down in the dumps. I had a business, and then it went bankrupt. Like when I was about 30, I guess. And then I'm like, what am I going to do? You know, and it wasn't my dream anyway.
Mhm.
It was a garage door business that a buddy convinced me to buy with him, and he had all the technical skills, and I just had money and good credit. Um, I mean, a little bit of money, more money than he did enough to buy this business.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was very successful for like 6 months, and then like went in the toilet. And due to our behavior, we were, you know, just party animals and very irresponsible. Anyway, and that was after a couple of other misses and just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And then Marine Corps just came back in the picture because I just such high respect for the organization, and I craved respect and was
Mm.
really worried about being a loser. I think is maybe a simple way to put it. And I'm like, well,
Yeah,
these
like
Marines, everybody. What's
how's
that?
Jesse gonna turn out? Is he gonna, you know, all of that? Worried about being a loser is such a very quick way to say something that has chapters and chapters behind it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Just how, you know, it's all this pain, I think, related to the ego, and part of that, but a necessary pain and part of that evolution. And the Marine Corps to me was a way to at least have the respect piece. Everybody respected a Marine, you know.
Hell yeah.
Um, and so I think that's really at the end of the day. Uh, and I wanted the discipline too. You know, part of my troubles and pain in my early adulthood was the lack of discipline. Um, and so it was something I'm like, well, you know, nothing says discipline about
Yeah.
more than being a Marine.
Well, and so this is all going into, right. You looked up to your brother. He went into the Marine Corps. You, and then, by the way, you were just being a kid, you know, and you even actually got to have your 20s. Kick ass. That's amazing.
20s and 30s and
Yeah, yeah, good, good. And so it really is opposite than you and me, because I actually really was a kid. You and I partied a little together, but then I really wanted to party, and then fell in love and cleaned up my life with air quotes, and fucking
Mhm,
actually really did that, you know. And so,
mhm,
you know, you waited till you were 40 to start a family. I
mhm.
started 20 years earlier. So it really is an inverse experience. I'm still, this is what I'm trying to like explode and become, but we've identified that.
Yeah, but I think I got what I wanted out of it, and it was part of that journey. Right before that, I read Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. Just starting to understand how to be a responsible person, and then how that brings joy, how
Yeah.
discipline brings joy,
Yeah.
um, and figuring that out, and then kind of starting to shed the insecurities, starting to shed the crave for respect. And it's interesting, you know, you become a Marine, and then you sort of get this respect once people know that you were one or are one or whatnot. And then you're like, oh, I guess I'm surprised I needed this so bad. It's really
Yeah.
not that big of a deal.
Yeah. It's like you don't value it the way you thought you would. And a big part of it is because you achieved it, you know? And
Yeah.
so it's
It
like, well,
reminds me of Jim Carrey said, I wish everybody could be rich and famous just so they would know how it's not a big deal, or how it's not really the be all end all.
yeah, you can tell he doesn't really value it, you know?
Yeah.
It's, yeah, it's, you know, so interesting. Okay. So now that you did that, you entered the Marine Corps early 30s. What has it meant for you?
Well, I think it satisfied those pretty big wickets for me,
Good.
of what I needed. It did help with the discipline. I mean, there's very practical things it helped with, in terms of, excuse me, I got, you know, a really good job afterwards, you know, working in DC, government consulting stuff. I'm still in government consulting with different company
Cool.
now. You get your, I think I had a secret clearance. Now I have a top secret with like a polygraph and all kinds of good things to have, good insurance to have in this town if you lose
I
your
would
job.
think so. I mean, there's a lot to do with that. Sounds like you'll always have a need for your specialty. I mean, you
Well,
did it.
maybe. So now the thing is, maybe we could jump to this. Actually, I'm kind of curious to share this, or
Yeah.
happy to share this with you to get your take, because now I've been here about a decade in DC, just doing this consulting stuff, and I'm making pretty good money. We're very comfortable and happy, but I'm just like, man, I'm doing all this work, and it's very stressful. Very stressful, and it's just like, man, I want to figure out how I can, my big dream is how I can maybe make the same or more and do way less work.
Yeah.
And then so I can focus on things like this, or
Yeah.
music and all that fun stuff.
Yep.
And so that's kind of, my head's been there, like trying to figure out what's I don't know, you can call it a hustle, you can call it a scheme. I don't know. I've been taking classes on day trading.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because my neighbor's pretty freaking wealthy, and he got me onto like these classes, and he makes insane amounts of money just in the morning. And he's like, yeah, dude, you can do it too. You just need to learn how to do it. It sounds risky, but it's just an option I'm exploring to be like, okay, well, that seems like a feasible possible. You just learn these methods and these understandings to make good guesses, and try to win 51% of the time. And then, maybe that covers your lifestyle. And maybe you only have to do it 3 mornings a week. I don't know.
Yeah. There's a million ways you can get to where you want to go. But you just sort of say, could there be a 10-year plan? Right. I mean, the idea is, and could it be a 5-year plan? But something that is working for me is I was able to save a bunch of money, and I'm invested in crypto. Like I know. But see,
Nice.
crypto, you knew I would say that. So
No,
crypto,
I didn't. I was just
oh,
thinking,
really?
I think crypto just creeps into every conversation these days.
Oh, hell yeah. You're right. You know what? That's podcast bingo. Or really, that's just regular convo bingo. But the people get crypto wrong if they think it's going to happen quick. You've heard that one before. And definitely to not short trade crypto, but you just you hold, man. And I'm talking about conservative crypto. My overall, I hold mostly Bitcoin, and Bitcoin, there is just so much energy going towards adoption. Are you done with the crypto? Because I'll give you my crypto.
It's funny. I mean, think about how many Super Bowl commercials
Oh yeah,
there were for
yeah,
crypto. I couldn't believe
yeah.
it. It's definitely hitting it heavy, hitting it hard.
I think we're just starting to see that. A lot of people said that sort of opened their eyes. But I mean, basically, you've got the crypto in general. You've got a whole universe. You're right. This is worth laughing at. and really, just to make it short for all of us, it's really like, think about you. You could always consult. It's just on what you do. It just has to be how much you're willing to do. So what if you could get to a point where you have enough money or nest egg or assets to where you only have to consult 10, 20 hours a week? Like, that'd be incredible. And that would always be, you're always the guy they call. You're an independent contractor now. You got a whole bunch of interesting jobs going on. That's fun. And to get to that point, I really think it's the most basic thing, that you just start socking money into crypto, and you say, this is going to take 10 years. And the adoption that's happening with crypto. So here's my overall piece on the crypto. crypto as an entire universe. And by the way, one day cryptocurrency is going to be sort of an old term. It's going to be called like digital assets because it's the future. In fact, they call it Web 3. You've heard of Web 3.
I haven't actually.
So we're currently in Web 2. There used to be Web 1.0, but
Oh, yeah.
it,
That,
it
yeah.
this is not me understanding fully what it's going to be because we're going to see it, but it will have everything from even more personal brands. You're going to have the metaverse and a whole bunch of financial technology that will be completely redone. And they say that that's the future of the internet. Web 3 will be run on crypto. That's what
Mm,
we're starting to see now. And so if that's like, it's almost like Web 3 will be run on the universe of crypto, and they're comparing it to the first, the universe of crypto that runs the web and the economy is sort of like comparing it to what Apple has been for the last 20 years, what
mhm,
Google, Facebook have been. Those
yeah.
are like the tech companies. So then you've got the world of cryptocurrency, and then you have Bitcoin, which is like the largest crypto. It's the biggest brand. It has the most momentum. And my favorite part about it is Bitcoin really mostly functions as a store of value. Like it's just gold.
Mhm.
And there's only a certain amount that will ever be in circulation, right?
Mm,
Versus the
I didn't
American
know that.
dollar,
Mhm.
versus the American dollar,
They can print more.
they print more. They've printed, and since March of 2020, because of the pandemic, the United States government has printed 40% of the circulation that's there
Wow.
today. That's in circulation today. 40% of it was printed since March 2020. And that's literally they're just they're just flooding the market with more dollars, which is effectively making our dollar
That's
less.
interesting. I didn't know. I didn't
About
not that I
Bitcoin?
know anything about crypto, but I didn't know that piece for sure. That so it's kind of like a handshake where it's like this is all that's good. This is all that's I guess because there's not one single
It's
arbiter of
Yes. Yeah, so the
yeah.
American dollar, for example, is centralized currency. That means it's connected to the government, and because of interest rates, they are able to, control money printing. This is decentralized.
Mhm.
Is actually when you buy one Bitcoin, it's validated by 1,000 different nodes of miners that are
The
also
blockchain,
self.
man. The
Wait,
blockchain.
what?
The blockchain.
It's the blockchain. The future is the blockchain. And because
Mhm.
the blockchain is a decentralized yet democratic organization that no one single power can pull the lever on.
Yeah.
It's a whole bunch of everyone's checking up on each other, and that's what makes it,
Work.
so to go with that, you've got Bitcoin, which currently there are 19 million Bitcoin in circulation, and there will only ever be 21 Bitcoin in circulation. Bitcoin is slowly releasing, but on schedule, a certain amount of Bitcoin. And the amount that actually is released, the rate of release, is this tapering amount. And the last Bitcoin will be mined in the year 2140.
Mm.
And the very last Bitcoin will take 40 years to mine. So this
Mhm.
is all very calculated. You can plan on it, but it's never going to be that the fucking pandemic happens and all of a sudden your dollar is worth 40% less
Mhm.
5 years later, whatever that is.
But I don't get then, but it's still Bitcoin goes up and down, right? And very quite dramatically, it seems. So
Yes, Bitcoin is very volatile, mainly because it's very young.
yeah.
Also, the adoption isn't there. What we're witnessing is all these freaking giant engines of like capital moving towards really putting into Bitcoin. And so again, you got the universe of crypto, which is all the technology. You've got Bitcoin, which is the main store of value. And you
Mhm.
have Bitcoin as it's limited in supply. And so when a company, this Fidelity or World Bank of Australia or El Salvador, when they decide they want to enter crypto because it is the future, the landing is going to be Bitcoin because that's what their constituents can buy onto. It's the most conservative, right? So you've got this limited supply, you've got all this future adoption, 10 years. The world's going to be adopting it. And Bitcoin on its own. Bitcoin alone is a very smart investment. It just depends on how long your time horizon is.
Gotcha. So that leads to my next question is, if I got in on it now, would that still be considered, if anybody got in on it now, would that still be considered getting in on it early?
Yeah. Yes. 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 A lot of people are like, it's the first inning. And a lot of people are like, it's not even the first inning, bro. It's spring training. Like, seriously. So a lot of smart, and what's so cool. And so I'm a big follower of this, and I mainly follow Bitcoin. And there's just more and more and more adoption. Like, I just went down the rabbit hole of Fidelity, and Fidelity's been spending the last 5 years of really researching how they want to be in the Bitcoin market, how they want to offer it to their clients, and really big money is totally optimizing to start pouring into Bitcoin. But then also crypto, right? Once they land in Bitcoin and all their constituents have approved on it, then they put billions into Bitcoin, said company. Then they're able to look up after a few years, we've all normalized, we're all in Bitcoin, and survey the entire landscape of crypto, right? This is all very strategic.
So actually, I'm not sure I understand the difference between Bitcoin and cryptocurrency.
So
Bitcoin's a company that deals in cryptocurrency?
Bitcoin's not even a company. Bitcoin is a crazy story. Basically a guy named Satoshi Nakamoto. Have you heard that name?
Yeah.
That's probably a pseudonym. That's not his real name. But he created it. He put it out into the world, and he is still faceless and unknown. So to truly create something that's genius and to fade into obscurity, that's what this dude did. And it took since 2008 or 9 for adoption to happen. And here we are in 2022, and it's like this almost $1 trillion market cap just for Bitcoin. And so it's not a company. It's actually a blockchain network. A lot of people are like, what is Bitcoin? Well, it's a digital currency. It's also a digital asset. There's one guy, his name is Michael Saylor. He is like, look, this is like digital real estate. This is like buying waterfront property in New York City. They're not making any more of it, you know? And the adoption is on its way. So what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is actually very distinctive. Then you have all the other cryptos. Some of them are decentralized like Bitcoin, but a lot of them actually are their own companies and corporations. And those look closer to software like Apple or Google. And they're actually optimizing to be currency that solves very specific problems in the financial world, for example. So, yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of crypto it's going to be part of technology. That's where you get into the use cases. Like Ethereum is the second largest crypto behind Bitcoin, and Ethereum is a blockchain that other companies can come and build their own crypto on top of Ethereum, and they have to use Ethereum in order to make a lot of different technology use cases, and most of them have to do with financial, like just the way we spend money and the way we're able to zip tokens back and forth in the future will be completely different from what it is now.
So how many different, I don't know, versions, I guess, of, I'm still not sure what covers all of it? Digital assets, is that the right term to cover all of what we're talking about? Digital assets?
You can still say crypto because that's what they're still saying, but you can also see that the terminology is getting closer. What's cool about digital assets, and this is what like the big companies are using, that starts to legitimize it. That's what they're really after.
Mhm.
Crypto sounds like it's a bunch of criminals, So, yeah,
Well, it's just interesting because I mean, that's what you hear about how criminals leverage
yeah,
it because it's not traceable, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but
That's true. But you're hearing about what's so interesting is you're hearing about that less, and you're hearing
yeah,
more about. I mean, for example, CNBC, Bitcoin is a regular rotating ticker.
hmm
Holy shit, dude!
yeah.
There's 200 million that was spent on ads in the Super Bowl. Holy shit! I mean, just people are going to start paying attention, and you're still like way early. The big play is to just hang on.
So
Just
it's interesting because it is has been volatile and there's reasons for that. Like it's early, you said, but the same guidance is the same guidance most successful investors will tell you, which is to be in for the long haul and don't freak out.
Same goes for, I mean, Apple, Google, and Facebook. If you
Big
had
one.
bought it in 2010, you would have had a very, very increased asset. So
Have
it's
you
just,
have you messed around then with day trading at all? Because that's the opposite. Day trading is
yeah,
it's more like, hey, I'm seeing a pattern.
yeah,
Okay, what are the I actually have some notes here.
yeah,
These supporting lines are here. So we can with some there's a pretty high chance that this will hit there.
yeah,
So buy here, sell here, and then
yeah,
you make that profit, And to me, it sounds actually quite reasonable. And then you don't always hit it.
yeah.
You never
Good.
can really predict it, but there's a likelihood that you're gambling
Yeah.
on.
I understand what people do and they make plenty of money. And I understand that it also sounds like discipline, right? You understand your risk profile for any said trade, and
Yeah,
so you bet this much or this little based on the risk profile, and you make little tiny, tiny little spliffs along the way, and hey, you make a great living. I never have. I mean, by the way, what's another great validator for crypto and Bitcoin is simply that it's volatile because freaking people are already playing it like the stock market.
Mm.
Major.
Oh,
Big
really? Yeah,
whales. Oh, big
yeah,
whales are able to go in and manipulate pricing because it's still
yeah,
small enough. And so
yeah,
therefore, if 10 years from now, if the market cap is way higher than what it is, it's just going to be hard to manipulate and move around. But right
yeah.
now, you still have whales that go roll in, they buy, 100 million of something, it cranks the price around.
So if I have $1,000 right now that I don't care if I win or lose, should I just throw it in crypto right now? Boom.
Yeah, and I would even say Bitcoin. If you're like, hey, I got I got $10,000 that would be that I don't even need to see for 10 years. You buy Bitcoin, it I'll even say it'll outperform anything else that you could buy. Real estate, anything. But it has to do with the 10 years.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are like, and a lot of really smart organizations are saying by 2030, it's going to be 100 times the value that it is today. What? I'll take 10 times. If it's 10 times what it is, great. 100 times is a crazy, crazy thing, but it has to do with the scarcity of what Bitcoin is.
Yeah.
You just have, right?
Where's it at today? Is it low or high?
It's 40,000. Its highest was high 60s or 67,000 ever, but it's still so young that it's just going to go up and down. What's been interesting, it's been trading sideways for most of the year,
Mhm.
uh, pretty much staying between 40 and 50,000.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's
Well,
great. It's a
those are
great time to buy. Like it's a great time to buy right now. So
yeah, that was my next question. And then I probably should go, but if it's worth it to wait for another volatile drop, then buy and then wait it out.
I know. Nope.
Uh,
I'll say right now is the right time to buy. But yeah, I hit you with my crypto. I was trying to keep that in my back pocket, Jesse.
well, no, hey,
That's a
you
big
just
one.
have something of value you wanted to share. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So
Um,
basic.
Well, hey, let's do you want to do it again?
I
Feel
would
like
do it again.
yeah. And what do you feel about me posting this? I think because it's interesting, and I don't have to, and I'm not married to it either way.
Please
I
do
think
post it.
it's just cool because we've totally talked about metal. We totally talked about politics, and we talked about well, I love that we talked tech too, and investing, but most importantly, we talked about, hey, what's behind all of this stuff, man?
Yeah.
You know?
Dude, please do go ahead and post it. That'd be awesome.
All right. Well, like I said, I got tens and tens of viewers, so
All right. Send it out. Much love to those, much love to all those bros and all the metalheads too. That's
all right,
cool.
bro. I'm gonna go figure out how to download TikTok and subscribe to you, man.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Hey, good connecting. Yes, let's do it again. Seriously, send me a text. We'll put it on the calendar. You know?
Sounds good, man. Hey, if you
All right,
think
brother.
about it, it's a dream. If you schedule it, it's
Yeah.
reality.
That's so true. All right, man.
All right, brother. Nice to see you.
Take care, brother.
All
Bye
right, bye
bye.
bye.